Hello and welcome to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. That's engineer Paul Madrid. Thanks for joining us on La La Land. This is the only nationally broadcast show by Los Angeles artists about Los Angeles artists. And we have a big show today, Paul Madrid.
I noticed we have a quite exciting lineup.
We do. I always brag. I always say that we have nothing but the best of Los Angeles artists on this show, and today is certainly no exception. We have the executive director of the theater at Boston Court, Michael Seel, as well as midday KPCC news anchor Hedy Lynn. So we're looking forward to talking to both of them.
I can't wait to hear it myself.
Yeah, me neither. This is Michael's third appearance on the show. He's a friend of the show. He's been here a million times. He's going to tell us about what's coming up at the theater at Boston Court. And Hedy Lynn has been a news anchor in the Los Angeles area for 30 plus years and is incredibly experienced. So I'm sure she'll have a lot of great stories too. So let's talk about this co-host contest.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's actually going a lot better. We got that press release out, and all of a sudden we're getting all kinds of responses from people.
That's great.
Some former guests, some people that we've never met before, and it looks great. But I'm kind of looking for your advice on this, because I want your opinion on this.
Well, how can I help?
Well, right now I could easily pick 5 people. Easily from the submissions we got this week. But do you think it would be a good idea to give one name per weekend, or do you think it'd be a better idea to announce all 5 on October 19th? So on the one hand, it keeps people involved. It keeps it exciting if I announce one name per weekend. But I could save them all till the end. Just kind of depends.
Well, it could give you more of a element of surprise.
I guess so.
Guessing.
I guess so. Maybe I better just announce them all at the end, huh?
That's my way of thinking about it.
It's probably more fair that way too, because then if people wait till the last minute to send in their video submissions, they're not, they're considered just as much as the people that send them in early.
Well, you don't have to name names, but are there any that are kind of standing out in your mind? Any that have particularly impressed you?
Yeah, there's several. And people are getting creative too, which is what I like. They're just being creative with their videos. I don't want to be too specific on how creative, because I don't want to give people any ideas to steal. But it's been a lot of fun. So what we're doing is looking for video submissions, guys, for a co-host. 1 to 2 minutes. Just tell us kind of why you would like to co-host this show. And send your video submissions to lalalandtalk@gmail.com. And we're going to announce the 5 finalists on October 19th, give them each a 1-week shot in the year, and then our audience is going to pick on those 5 finalists who they would like to see on the show. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Guys, if you have any questions for our amazingly talented guest today, Mr. Michael Seel of the Theater at Boston Court, or Hedy Lynn of KPCC, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225, 1-800-336-2225. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/LaLaLandTalk, and Twitter at twitter.com/LaLaLandTalk. And we'll be back on La La Land Talk today with Brett Chapin and engineer Paul Madrid on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. And we're talking today with KPCC news anchor in the midday, Hedy Lynn.
Hello, Brett.
Hi, Hedy.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
You're used to this, though. You've done this once or twice, this whole radio thing.
Well, I have seen a microphone and headsets before, yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A few years.
Well, you have been a journalist, a broadcast journalist in the Los Angeles area for 30 plus years now. Is that correct?
I hate to mention it, but yes, that's indeed true. I kind of like saying it because it makes me special, being the longest running on-air radio news person in Los Angeles, most likely. But then again, there's a downside to being on the air for 30-some years. Shows that you're not 21 anymore.
Well, maybe not, but I think that experience that you have is incredible. I'm sure it's worth being able to not be 21 anymore.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with how you got started in radio and all that. How did that first
let's see
begin
if
for you?
Can remember that far back. Yes, well, I did get my start accidentally in San Diego. I was living in San Diego. I had graduated from Northwestern in theater and speech, and I thought I was going to be an actor. And it's a very difficult field, as all you actors out there know.
Sure.
And so I had heard about an audition at KSDO, which was the CBS affiliate in San Diego. They were looking for somebody who could be an anchor, and I didn't know much about that business, but I thought, what the heck, I wasn't working at the time. And so I went in and I was hired on the spot.
Oh, that's great.
And I learned it all. I learned everything. I had to go out on the street, do reporting. I had a lot of interviews with anybody who came into town. I got to interview anybody who was a celebrity who came into town, because San Diego in the late 70s was kind of a sleepy town.
Yes.
And it was a Navy town, and there wasn't a lot of news, or it was such a there were so fewer people than there are now. Of course, it's a big city. And so I got to do quite a bit. I was the first anchor woman on radio in San Diego, and I remember that they had this huge, I still have it, it's a big billboard, and they put it up and had me riding an elephant in the parade when it came to town. When the circus came to town, I was on an elephant, and they had this big thing, Hedy, Lynn, Hedy's our first San Diego news anchor on the radio. It was very exciting. It really was.
And from there, where did you go? Was it to KFWB or?
Yes, actually, it was a weird story. I had broken my legs plural, skiing, and I was in a wheelchair. And at that time, the doors to the studio were too narrow to fit a wheelchair. Can you believe that?
And there were no illegal.
Well, now, but not then.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a job when I was able to walk again. They had to hire someone else to replace me, and so they had heard about me in Los Angeles at KFWB and asked me to come up, and would I work at the station? And I thought, well, yeah, LA is a good town. Why not?
Yeah.
So I moved lock, stock, and barrel up to LA. Not that far and hard to move. And then I got started at KFWB, where I had been for a long time, on and off. I would be there for a while and then do something else, try television, and then go back to, it was my home, and they would always take me back.
Sure.
Oh, let her go and experiment and do things. And then I'd come back, and I loved it. I worked at all 3 locations. KFWB moved from one place to another, and I moved with them. And
it's fantastic.
Yeah, and so that's my how I got into the business story.
And from KFWB, you went to KPCC. Is that right?
Actually, I was on and off. I was at K-Earth 101 for a while as the news director and morning anchor. And I did that for 2 years, and that was a lot of fun. It was an interesting experience, although morning drive, getting up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm kind of glad right now that I can get up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's rough, I can imagine.
And yeah, now I'm at KPCC, and I love it. I've been there 6 years. I do the middays. It's the best shift of my life because, like I said, I can get up, and then I'm done at 3 o'clock.
Not bad.
So it's not bad at all. I'm happy. I intend to stay there the rest of my working career.
Excellent. And you've done some work in film as well. I'm looking at your IMDb page, and it's just a cacophony of well-known shows. Moonlighting, The Terminator, Superman, Throw Mama from the Train. Yeah. And you mostly played a news reporter. What's that like?
Oh, isn't that interesting why they would hire me? When they talk about typecasting, I guess that's the epitome of typecasting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if she could play a news person. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it was because I had my SAG card, and I knew what a newsroom situation was like, or out in the field, I knew what it was like. So sometimes the production people would hire me to help them decide if this was really, is this the way it really is? So not only would I be the newscaster, but I'd also help them direct the scene to make sure it was the way it really is in real life.
That's great.
So so I got to do quite a bit. Mostly it was interesting. That was my era when I was with K-Earth, and there were so many producers and directors who listened to K-Earth, and they would call me up and say, "Oh, can you be in my next movie?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." It was so exciting to have people of that caliber ask me to be in their film. I was delighted. Sometimes it was a voiceover. Sometimes it was on camera. And yeah, I did quite a bit. It was fun. Terminator was exciting. Terminator was interesting because James Cameron was not the king of the world at that time.
Yeah.
And, nobody knew who he was. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was just kind of starting out. And so it was one of those things where my agent said, "Do you mind taking a little cut in your salary or your daily fee to do this? Because it's a small movie." And I said, "Well, sure, why not?" And then Terminator, hello.
But at that time, I bet you didn't know it was going to be what it was.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew. It was a tiny little production company.
How funny.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
And you do so much. When did you have time to write your 2 books?
Well, that was interesting. I took some time out from my career. I was at KFWB at the time, and I took a few years off. It's called Agents on Actors, and it was also the Backstage Guide to Casting Directors. Mm-hmm. And I took the time off to raise my children because I wanted to be an at-home mom. So I took those years off, and I thought, well, I can't just do nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, let's write a book. And I was able to do the interviews on the phone with agents and casting directors. Each book had 60 people that I interviewed, 30 of them in LA and 30 of them in New York, and some actually around the country in other areas where they did films. Mm-hmm. And it was a fascinating experience for me.
I bet you learned so much. You must have learned so much talking to them.
I did. I have some great stories about actors who were nobody at the time, and then they were discovered. That was so much fun. How were they discovered? So, if you can get a copy of the book, I don't know if it's still available, but they're very interesting stories.
Absolutely, get her books, guys. Agents on Actors and the Backstage Guide to Casting Directors.
Yeah.
We're talking with KPCC's Hedy Lynn Hurtis. If you have any questions for Hedy, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225. And we'll be back to talk to her a little more about some things she has going on right now on La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. That's engineer Paul Madrid over there. And we're talking with KPCC's Hedy Lynn Hurtis. If you have any questions for Hedy, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225, 1-800-336-2225. Hedy, I wish I had an hour with you because you have so much going on right now that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about the Drama West.
That's an interesting story. I'm so happy it happened. About 18 years ago, I can't believe it's been 18 years, Catherine Stanley, who was an Orange County playwright, asked me to be in one of her plays. It was a play reading, and I said yes. And she says, I really think we could do something up in L.A. Would you like to help me co-produce a series of one-act original play readings here in LA? And I said I would love to. So we started doing it at Borders in Westwood. If anybody remembers that wonderful Borders in Westwood, no longer there. On the second floor, they had a stage because authors would read from their books there. Mm-hmm. So we used that for our Drama West, and every 2 months we would produce like 5 10-minute one-act play readings. And we started building it up, and we'd get more and more actors who were interested and more local playwrights. Our thing is that we want local playwrights. And so we moved to Barnesdale Park, and now we're at the Edendale Library in Echo Park, which is a fabulous location. It's right at the corner of Sunset and Alvarado.
Nice. And
we've been there now for about 4 years. And we like I say, every 2 months we put on a series of one-act play readings. And it's wonderful for actors, especially actors who are working all the time,
Sure.
because if at the last minute they have to go to New York or be in a film, we can replace them because it's a play reading. So all I have to do is pick up the script and be able to do a good cold reading, which most of our actors can do. So it's really fun. And anybody out there who's an actor or a playwright, we are always interested in getting submissions. Just go to our Facebook page, which is Drama West Productions, and get a hold of us and send in your material. 10-minute plays. That would be appropriate for a library setting, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And we have a lot of fun. And I have to tell you that one of the most wonderful moments of Drama West was when my husband and I got married there.
Tell us about that, and it sounds like an interesting story.
At the Edendale Library, we decided, there's Steve Julian, who's a mutual friend. He works with me at KPCC. He's the morning anchor.
We love Steve.
Yes, everybody loves Steve. He's great. Well, he's a playwright as well and an actor. And I went in to tell him that Randy had proposed to me. And he said, well, who's marrying you? And I said, well, I really haven't thought about it yet. He said, well, I can do it. I have a certificate from the Universal Life Church. I said, oh, great. Okay, fabulous. But where are we going to get married? We didn't want to have a big wedding because we'd both been married before. So we didn't want to do a whole big, huge wedding. So, and I thought, Steve, write us a play. Write us
Why
a
not?
10-minute play or 15 minutes or whatever it's going to take to get us married.
Yeah.
He said, oh, yeah, what a great idea. We could do it at Drama West. So the three of us, Randy, I, and Steve, got together and came up with a comedy about a Vegas wedding.
How funny.
And we did it as the last of our plays during that day at the library. It was we had 3 other plays, and then this was the 4th play because it was a little longer, so we only had 4 plays. And everybody thought it was a play. And then at the end, Steve says, well, you all thought this was just another play at Drama West. Well, guess what? I just married these 2 people.
Fantastic. The audience wasn't even in on it.
They were like their mouths dropped open, their jaws dropped open. What? A couple of people knew because they wouldn't have come if I hadn't told them that we were getting married. They're saying, oh, we'll try to make it. No, you're going to make it because
Sure.
we had to tell them. It was so much fun. We have it on DVD, of course, and we play it for all our friends. So if you're a friend, you're going to have to get to see this because we will subject you to it. But it was unique. And I recommend it for anyone who doesn't want to have a traditional wedding to do this. It was so much fun.
Have Steve Julian marry you.
Yes, have Steve Julian marry you on stage at Drama West.
And you have an event coming up this Saturday, right? At Drama West?
Exactly. Thank you for the promotion. Yes, anybody who wants to come out to see Drama West. We're not getting married again, but we're still having a lot of fun. Paul Dooley, the wonderful character actor, is going to be doing a segment on there. And it's free and it's air conditioned. And if you want to get away from Carmageddon, this is an opportunity to do that. So it's at 2 o'clock at Edendale in Echo Park.
And check them out on Facebook at Drama West Productions as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Hedy.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And we're going to be back to talk with the Boston Theater at Boston Court's Executive Director, Michael Seel, right here on La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. We're talking with the Theater at Boston Court's Executive Director, Mr. Michael Seel. If you have any questions for Michael, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225. And thank you so much for coming back, Michael.
My pleasure. It's exciting to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So what's going on at Boston Court these days?
What's going on at Boston Court? Actually, right now it's a little quiet, but we're prepping for a busy fall season. We've got a world premiere play coming up that opens October 13th. It's called Creation, directed by Boston Court District Director Michael Hedy, and stars Jonathan McClain, Adam Silver, Ethan Raines, and a La La Land Talk favorite, Deborah Pouet.
We love Deborah.
Yes. It's exciting. She is back on our stage for the first time since 2005, and it's been a long, dry spell for us, but I love having her back in the building. It's such a great energy
I love your graphic that you have for the show. It's
Isn't it
very
great?
cool.
Yeah. And there's Deborah right there,
Mm-hmm.
along with Jonathan. So yeah, it's a really exciting piece. World premiere by Catherine Wallet, and sort of goes off the premise of a couple of married couple, both doctors in their own fields, and he gets struck by lightning. But they are both very scientific in their lives. And he all of a sudden starts questioning his belief system because he starts hearing this glorious music in his head, and he can't get it to stop. And so it's something that's happened in his brain patterns. She tries to explain it in her mind through her scientific knowledge, but he's questioning really how things are created and where they come from.
Sounds really interesting.
Very interesting. Beautiful music that's being written for it by our composer, sound designer, Bruno Lashorn. And it's very exciting, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
And that's opening on October 13th and running through November 11th with a possible 2-week extension.
Possible 2 extension. We'll see how it goes. That's
Great.
what we always look at.
Find information on it, guys, at bostoncourt.com.
Right.
And, the thing I really like about Boston Court is you guys do all original works.
Not all original works. We do mostly original works.
Mostly original. Okay.
Sometimes we'll do a classic, but it's always got to have our own twist to it, whether it's a change in a setting or just a different take on it. We do look at classics and do, 2 years ago we did Luis Alfaro's Oedipus El Rey, which was his take on Oedipus the King.
Mm-hmm.
It was a national New Play Network rolling world premiere, which we did alongside of the Magic Theater in San Francisco and Woolly Mammoth in Washington, D.C. And so that that took that story and set it in East L.A., present day, and just gave it a new life and a new understanding, that's the sort of things that we do with that kind of work. Earlier this year we did a new play called The Treatment, as a collaboration with Theater Movement Bazaar, but it actually looked at Chekhov's a short story that Chekhov had done and just sort of recreated it and put it with a lot of movement-based work in the theater, and actually Tina Kronis, who is the director choreographer, just received an Ovation nomination for her choreography for that show. So that's sort of what we do. But a lot of our stuff is new work, and we're known for doing new works.
Do you find that doing new work gives you a more opportunity to get better exposure, do you think? Or is that
it's
why?
tough. It's tough because there is, we have we're going into our 10th season starting in 2013. We have great subscriber members, great audiences. They trust us now because when we announce a season, you're not going to really know a name of a play. Mm-hmm. So you've got to sort of trust us in what's going on. So in that sense, people who like to explore are willing to come along for the ride. Not necessarily for everybody, and we're
Right.
aware of that. So and we do a lot of programming around the plays to give people the opportunity to talk about them, mm-hmm. to explore with us, because it's some tough topics and some tough storytelling too sometimes.
Sure.
So
you gotta have people that are prepared for that.
Prepared,
Yeah.
Which is what we're really finding out, that we sometimes need to prepare our audience a little bit more than we do. We're actually contemplating doing an insert in our programs that says spoiler alert. A folded piece of paper that says, if you want to know a little bit more about this play, going in, read it. If you want to go for the ride as it's being seen by the playwright at this point, take it and just read it afterwards.
I like that idea.
So kind of like, because there's so many people. We did a world premiere called The Children earlier this year, which was so layered, and if you had difficulties following the story, because if you missed a certain or didn't understand a certain area of where it was going, I think that you had less of an experience until you came out and started talking about it. Some people, like my mother, was here for that play, and I gave her the story because I said, look, you're going to enjoy it more if you know what's going on. And for some people, that's great. Other people want to discover it as it goes,
Just depends on what you like.
It is.
You do a lot of interesting things to bring the audiences, to get the audience involved in the shows. You do live wired performances, something called Illumination, something called Economic Stimulus for theater lovers, something called Late Night Saloon. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Right. Actually, it's Late Night Salon, not a saloon.
Salon, excuse me.
But yeah. But so, all of this stuff has come out of the fact that we like to get our audience involved and have them have an opportunity to talk about it, because we find that they do want to talk about it. So our live art event is a $10 ticket. It's the Thursday after we open. We have complimentary pizza and beer in the lobby afterwards so people can hang out and talk. Every Friday night after we open, we have Late Night Salon where we have complimentary wine. And it's really about getting people to converse with each other. Because so many times people come and see a play and they want to talk about it, but then they go home and there's nobody to talk about it with.
Right.
So it's really designed to sort of allow people to get to meet the cast and actually ask questions and talk about it.
It's a fantastic way to do it. And I want to spend some time in the next segment. 45 seconds now, but I want to spend some time talking about the children. Because honestly,
Sure.
The Children at Boston Court was one of the best shows that I saw in LA last year.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. And I think our audience will be interested to find out the twist in there.
Yes.
We won't give it away quite yet.
Right.
Guys, we're talking with Executive Director of the Theater at Boston Court, Michael Seel. If you have any questions for Michael, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225. And we'll be back on La La Land right here on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. We're talking today with the Executive Director of the Theater at Boston Court, Michael Seel. If you have any questions for Michael, be sure to give us a call at 1-800-336-2225, 1-800-336-2225. And I want to spend some time talking about the children.
Okay.
One of the best shows in Los Angeles last year, in my humble opinion.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about it? Brief synopsis?
Sure. Wow, it is a tough tale. It starts. It's basically the premise is: what if Medea's children? Somebody in the chorus spotted this thing that was going to happen to these children and saw it coming. And what if that chorus member stepped out, grabbed the children, and took them? Mm-hmm. And so basically the play starts with that premise. The children are actually played by two adults who actually have puppets. And compliment to Susan Gratch, who is the puppet designer who won a Ovation honor for that puppet work that she did.
Well deserved.
Thank you, and I totally agree. But basically, for some reason, it transports the nursemaid, the chorus member, and the two children into a seaside cabin in Maine where there's a hurricane about to happen. Mm-hmm. And so as you sort of go through this play, you're not really sure what is real and what is not. And so a sheriff appears and to sort of gather anybody who's not gone to shelters, and they end up getting stuck in this cabin while this hurricane happens around them. And as the play unfolds, there's interesting clues in the scenic design and in the storytelling and the sound design, the brilliant sound design by John Zaluski and Veronica Varel, again, Ovation nominees for their work, where you're not quite sure what's happening. And what is revealed is this is a story being told by a 9-year-old boy to his little sister because he is keeping her calm. They have been put in into a pickup truck and driven off a pier into the water because their mother wants to kill them. And so he is telling the story because he knows that in his science class, he's learned that until the water pressure around them and outside equalizes inside with the water filling up in this pickup truck, that they can't open and swim to safety. So he's keeping her calm, telling her the story of that he has learned in his 5th grade classes. Mm-hmm. And so you have clues is the thing. All the time that you hear the sounds of hurricane are actually were re-envisioned sounds of metal crunching, water rushing, things like that. The lamps in the overhead lamps in the cabin, there were two globes that every once in a while there would be this screeching sound, and they would drop almost to the floor.
Yeah, that was
and
weird.
those were to sort of represent the headlights being dropped into the water.
Okay.
Of the car. The scenic design, Francois Pierre Couture. As we got things revealed, the couch in the cabin was actually the bench from the pickup truck. The refrigerator door actually had door handles from a pickup truck on it instead of the regular door handles. There were lots of yeah. See, right? The radiator was actually made out of bumpers.
Right.
There was lots of different and even in the trap door and that actually went to the cellar. When it lifted up, it actually looked like the interior of the hood of a truck. So all of these little clues were happening as we went along, and it was really about this boy telling a story, and you sort of kind of found out about him and what he was looking for in his life, and the people who had sort of wronged him, and who he could trust.
That's a real thinking kind of play. Like,
yeah. But beautifully written by Michael Seel. And it was an amazing collaboration between our co-artistic director, Jessica Gubzansky, who directed it, and Michael Seel, and our co-literary manager, Emily Beck, which actually on howlround.com this week, there's actually 3 separate blog entries by those 3 people talking about the collaboration that happened and from their viewpoints. So
howlround.com?
Howlround, HOWLROUND.com. And really fascinating. And if you actually go to bostoncourt.com, upper right-hand corner blog, hit that and pull down, and it'll take you to some of that information. So.
Yeah, check it out, guys. Read some information about the show. And I don't know if it's going up again anytime soon. But
I don't know. We do those shows and put them out into the world, and hopefully something will happen with it, because it is really a play that deserves at least another 1 or 2 productions as it goes along, because it is a timely story too. So many parents who just can't cope and attempt to get rid of everything in their life, including those loved ones around them.
Was it a big challenge for them working with puppets? The actors?
They watched a lot online, different demonstrations, and just got to work with them. We had dummy puppets from the very beginning, so they were literally working with them. And Susan Gratch, who designed them, worked with them a lot. But yeah, they just really inhabited them, and even then they played themselves as adults in certain segments. So they had to continue to try and put that sort of personality both in the puppet and themselves.
Yeah, it was very interesting to transition from one to the other.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, for any information on Boston Court, go to bostoncourt.com. We're talking with Boston Court's executive director, Michael Seel. If you have any questions for Michael, be sure to give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. That's 1-800-336-2225. Paul Madrid, is our film crew here yet from Guides, the web series? I'm just curious.
I'll take a look.
Okay. We've got we're shooting a web series here, guys, after the show. If you want to stick around on the live stream and watch us film. We'll be back on La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. I'm Brett Chapin. We're talking with the executive director of the theater at Boston Court, Michael Seel. If you have any questions for Michael, make sure you give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. And Michael, you're doing some music over at Boston Court. It's not just theater, right?
It's not just theater. We also have our Music at Boston Court series, which has been ongoing actually since we began. But in the last couple of years, we brought in an artistic director for our music series, Mark Saltzman, who's just really upped the game. Coming up this fall, we have everything from a returning thing called The New Sound of Silent Film, where Tom Peters, who's a bassist, does a live score. And year it's on October 26th, and it's sort of the silent horror comedy The Cat and the Canary, and that's in our second space. On November 3rd, I think I think it's November 3rd, Storm Large, who last I think appeared on the big stage here in Los Angeles and at the Mark Taper Forum in the Randy Newman musical review, Harps and Angels. But she's been a staple up in Portland. amazing performer, really a rock and roll performer, but she's coming in and sort of doing a cabaret show for us, and it'll be a little on the softer side, but she's still outrageous at every turn. So excited to have her. But lots of things going on. Theater artist Olan Jones is coming in and just doing a whole evening of her theater music, which he's never done before in a whole evening. So lots of fun things happen. You can see that at bostoncourt.com also.
That's great that you just don't do theater there. You do music, you do other things. So that's excellent.
Yes, it's exciting.
And you're, of course, a member of the LA Stage Alliance's Ovation. You're an Ovation member?
I'm an Ovation voter, and I'm also a member of the Ovation Review Committee.
And can you, for those that don't know, can you explain to our audience real quick what the Ovation members do?
Right. The Ovation voters are a group of over 200 theater peers, people who work in and around theater in various aspects, who actually vote on the Ovation Awards for LA Stage Alliance, which is the only peer judged award show in Los Angeles. And I actually sit on the committee that oversees that. An amazing group of 15 people who are so passionate about theater. The conversations, even though we don't always agree on what we're discussing, the passion that is in that room, it's a joy to sit on that committee and work with those people.
Absolutely. Ovations is kind of the LA's version of the Tony Awards, I guess.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've been involved with them for quite a while now.
Well, I've been a voter for quite a while. I've been on the committee for a couple of years now. And the Ovation Awards are coming up actually on, I want to say November 12th. Do you have it down here? Yeah. November 12th, downtown at the Los Angeles Theater, which is a theater that is one of those downtown big old Art Deco spaces that you look at the outside and you go, really, that's a theater? And you go inside and it is just unbelievably gorgeous.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the rake is so interesting there. It's such a steep rake, but they fit a lot of seats in there.
Yeah.
Guys, for information on the LA Stage Alliance, make sure you go to lastagealliance.com. Looking forward to having Doug Clayton of the LA Stage Alliance in here soon as well.
Great.
Michael Seel, Executive Director at the Theater of Boston Court, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. For any information on Boston Court, you can go to bostoncourt.com. And next week, we have the pleasure of talking with actress Rachel Allig of the film Officer Down, as well as Ryan LeConner of The Full Monty right now at the 3rd Street Theater. If you want to check us out on Facebook, you can do that at facebook.com/lalalandtalk or Twitter at twitter.com/lalalandtalk. Send us an email for our co-host search at lalalandtalk@gmail.com. Just 1 to 2 minutes, video submission. Let us know why you think you would make a great co-host. And we're going to be announcing the 5 finalists on that on October 19th. Stick around in the studio, guys, if you want to see some filming being done of Guides, the web series. I'm playing a public radio announcer. Speaking of public radio. Until next week, I'm Brett Chapin. This is La La Land on CRN Digital Talk, and we'll see you at the top.